I'm Maria Menounos, and you're tuned in to AfterBuzz TV, the ESPN of TV talk. Now, let the buzz begin.
Is it just me, or am I getting used to empty arena Monday Night Raws? That's right, it's the final Monday Night Raw, the go-home show before WrestleMania 36, an event that's too big. Glad that everyone came through in the clutch to talk about some wrestling. I want to introduce first, she is the co-founder of Women's Pro Wrestling Weekly right here on AfterBuzz TV Wrestling and Sports. Give it up for TK Trinidad.
Bonjour.
You've been doing that for months, and you can't say, hi, what up, glad to be here. Speaking of people are founding things, this guy is a founder of RealTalker.com, a bona fide publication out there getting you all the interviews you want for Hollywood. Give it up for Jim Alexander.
What's going on? You see, bonjour is good because I get more time for my intro in that case, so I will keep on talking.
Welcome, Jim.
Performing all over the Southland and the voice of AEW Dynamite After Show right here at AfterBuzz TV. Get up for the Jack Farmer.
Thanks so much for having me. And Jim, I really appreciate how polite you are as a host. It's always a treat to get to work with you.
Deal?
Don't get used to it too much. So
Yeah, that's good.
I love the Tron look that Jim has in his background. It's like
listen, the spotlight is on me. The lights are coming down. The Chicago skyline's hitting right on me. I am back home going cross country just to provide access to all these nerds hiding out in basements and bunkers.
Hollywood Jim.
Yeah, I love it, man.
Right.
Shout out to the chat right now. Joseph Bozo, Dylan Matthews in the chat. Haywood Wong, how you living? Charlene, so glad you helped us out this weekend on Wrestling with the Questions. Before we talk about that, though, overall thoughts about Monday Night Raw. This is the third week into having no fans in the audience. They have this giant show they have to promote, and it's awkward as hell, but it's going. Jack, I'm going to start with you.
I think this did a good job of making me very excited to see WrestleMania across all weekend. It's going to be a fun time. I think it's going to be it's weird. It's different. I think WrestleMania is going to be weird and different. I'm here for it. It's weird and different, and it's great.
Okay.
I think you're actually going to see who the difference between folks who actually have the acting chops, because as you know, it's storyline and actually giving out the right storyline and having people believe it. So you're gonna definitely see the wrestlers who have the storyline, who have the acting chops, because they don't have the crowd to play off them. And the ones who don't, it's gonna be a different time after WrestleMania. I definitely think the writers are gonna make some shifts for people who can't connect to the audience on screen versus just the fans.
What's up, Jim?
I'm not in favor of it. I haven't been in favor from day one. But
Gotta ask you, man. I know.
Yeah, I know. But we're going with it. Listen, the multiple locations, the only thing I might save them actually and make it somewhat more different, or at least I hope they split it up from match to next location to in performance. So to give it a different vibe and feel to it. So I'm interested to see that. If they kind of do it like Bray Wyatt and Matt Hardy did that whole thing, it could be something interesting.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I mean, we're seeing them. They're trying. They're trying to make this as most visually bearable and as we could get, but it's just not working in that performance center because you're hearing the echoes. You're hearing guys call spots. You're hearing like TK said, some of the guys that don't have the chops to cut promos are getting exposed, and some that do, which tonight was really good. You saw some A+ promos being cut by some of the best in the business. It's going to separate the average from the stars, no question.
Yeah, speaking of being different in promos, the show starts off with The Undertaker, which people will call it the American Badass, but I know it's Big Evil. Basically taking the thing with AJ Styles to the other side of being real, calling him by his given name, his government name, putting over the faith breaker, which is a phrase I haven't heard in 15 years, saying that she got that move over and Michelle McCool did. I was blown away by Undertaker here tonight, starting off the show, getting a nice tone with everything. This match here has gone from being a nice to have to being one of the matches I want to see. TK, thoughts about this feud here? AJ Styles, The Undertaker, the Phenom against the Phenomenal One.
I think if we were in a different time, a la 4 weeks ago, I wouldn't be as excited. But given the fact that these are two amazing performers, and we know that they can pull it off in the wrestling in the ring, but also just they're giving the excitement, because it's like everybody's kind of down with everything that's going on. So they're providing the excitement, they're providing the storyline. And I think because a lot of us really don't have anything to do at home, you're actually investing in it a little bit more. So I'm definitely excited for it.
So, but let me hold you to this, TK. Does it matter that they went a little bit with the kayfabe and did real names and real relationships? Does that make this different, or will it already be?
Well, I'm always about bringing in the realness, and especially when you have relationships and real relationships, like you could tell, that they've been together for a long period of time. So I'm definitely for the real relationships and bringing it in and bringing the beef in, and they both made it believable. Like, I'm down for it.
Jack, man, Undertaker says that AJ was a big fish in a very, very small pond and got involved in WWE after all the big stars left. As a guy who covers all of wrestling outside of WWE included, how did it make you feel?
I loved it. That was the best part of the entire promo, was the him commenting on AJ being in a small pond and waiting until all these great guys left before coming. I think it's kind of fun to add the Michelle McCool stuff. But at the end of the day, I think these two legends talking about careers, talking about who could beat who, I think that's the real meat and potatoes of what this match is going to be about. And I love that he threw that shade at AJ Styles, because I don't think he necessarily waited until people left, but there's some truth about that. He was a big fish in a small pond, and he is now, after all those guys left, making his name on the big stage. Like I said, I think that comparison of the career is the meat and potato, and after all that meat's eaten up, we're gonna be left in a boneyard. Bring it home. I cannot wait until we see what a boneyard match is. Are you guys kidding me? I'm so excited to see what a boneyard match is.
Jim, help me out here. WTF is a boneyard match?
It's called a buried alive match, Jack. just to kill your hype, right? Just to kill your hype, because you're overly hyped over a boneyard match. But it's worth the hype, because I'm telling you, the way this feud started was awkward at Super Showdown. Legends rise, but here's the thing. It was an awkward, forced way how it started, but they've sold it in the last few weeks big time. I mean, AJ Styles carried this, but tonight was the best Undertaker promo in the last decade. No question. He spoke. We just didn't see the side of Undertaker. It was the most always predictable promo.
Decade, though?
Yeah. Well, when was the last best promo he cut, besides rest in peace or 3 words that he says? This is by far the best promo. This is the best. You get an authentic side of the Undertaker, a different side of him we haven't seen. This is personal. Like I said, we've had a lot of different feuds, like even major feuds with Undertaker and Shawn Michaels. Promo-wise, I think this is one of the best feuds he's had in the last decade also, when it comes to promo for promo and, that sort of thing. We might not have the great storyline package or anything like that, but promo-wise, they're selling this over the top, and it's really made a forced feud into a must-see one.
I got to give the Jim here. The last time I saw a Taker feud that made me go, damn, was 2010, streak for his career, WrestleMania 26. Yeah. So I'm like, to put it this way, if I was outside the arena, theoretically, because there is no arena, I would buy the bootleg merch for this match with the Undertaker's giant head taking on, like, I would totally be on board with this.
Bootleg merch. Undertaker said something. He said, bring the OC, and he's going to bring the unholy trinity. Do we think he's bringing people with him?
He's bringing Luke Harper, Matt Hart. No, I have no idea. I have no idea who he's bringing. I hope it's new characters to put those guys over too, but who can tell, man?
Yeah, we don't know what baby too. That would be beneficial if you bring some people that we haven't seen, because like we've all been saying, this is a different WrestleMania. It's probably, hopefully it's the only type of WrestleMania that we'll see, meaning that this will be the only, I guess, coronavirus WrestleMania that we'll ever have again.
You better hope so.
I don't want coronavirus too. What the?
Yeah. So,
too big for 1 year. Yeah.
Too big for 1 year. So I'm maybe in order to cover that, they're going to be bringing out names that we haven't seen in a minute that are going to make people excited. Like, it's just going to be, again, covering the wrestlers who don't have necessarily the chops to carry it over in an empty arena. They're going to bring in the big names. So I think that's going to happen.
Who are you going to bring in?
Who it is going to be.
It could only be Kane.
Make their appearance.
Kane is the only one I can think of.
Kane, yeah. Paul Bear's gone. We're not going to bring in Gangrel or, some of these guys that are part of the ministry, right?
Gangrel still works. I don't know. He's available. Vampire Warrior. Why not?
It didn't matter when he was
What if they brought the Acolytes back?
Oh, JBL with the face paint on
it would be terrible, but I'd be all for it.
Yeah. Why not? But moving on, speaking of developments and promos, Becky Lynch, the man herself, came out and somehow threw to a match that was 30 minutes long. Okay, we got our little throwback match slid into Raw, but Shayna Baszler comes out and destroys Becky Lynch. Jim, I'll start with you because this time last week you said Becky Lynch going into WrestleMania did not look vulnerable, but she got choked out and her head was knocked across the commentary table. Does this help at all or not?
It just makes me think she's going to win. That's what always, whenever there's a threat, last time when they were pushing someone that crazy and they certainly look beatable on the way to a big event, what usually happens? They end up winning. It's happened with Cena, Roman, when they're a person is getting looking like they were, and even happened with Becky. Didn't happen with Asuka when she feuded with her. Asuka was getting the best of her, right? And then, and same thing with even at what point with the Lacey for a bit. And then what happens when it matters? She goes over. I fear that this is just a bad thing actually, because they're making Shayna look strong, and meaning that Becky didn't get the best of her, so she's going to get the best of WrestleMania. It's the worst case scenario.
TK, you're the women's wrestling expert. I got to talk to you about this. Shayna Baszler in NXT was an absolute machine, the submission magician, the queen of spades. But here in the main roster, she's just kind of like a cage fighter. Is this a disservice to her? Granted, there's no crowd reactions in the last couple of weeks, right. But has this feud like somehow been to her detriment?
I just think it was kind of poorly placed. And, Shayna, the feud makes sense, but it makes sense in Becky's favor. Whereas this Shayna, we don't necessarily know what's going to happen. We don't know. She's going to be somewhere above the mid tier, but she might be floating for a while. I didn't really agree. Like, we've been calling for Shayna to be moved up to the main roster, but the timing of it was just kind of weird. There wasn't any pomp and circumstance when it happened. I know she did like the biting and stuff like that, but it wasn't. You don't want necessarily what Ronda Rousey had because those are two different levels. But given the dominance that Shayna had in NXT, there should have been a better crossover. So I definitely agree with Jim where it's like, I think this is going to go towards Becky at the detriment of Shayna's career for a little bit. I don't think she's going to be totally left in the dust, but this is more to revive Becky's, the man gimmick.
Okay, good point. Jack Farmer, Dylan Matthews in chat says he is scared of Becky winning. Thoughts about Becky Lynch in this feud on Sunday or Saturday or whenever they do it? I don't know.
I know. When is the timeline?
It's 2 days. It's 4 hours. It's 3.5 hours each day with a 1 hour pre-show on Saturday and Sunday. But Jack,
yeah, I've said before, like I'm not against Becky Lynch, but she needs to look weak. And even today, it felt very much like a last second, oh shoot, Shayna Baszler has gotten punked every single step of the way, just like every single person Becky Lynch has faced every single step of the way. I agree with Jim. It does kind of look like this is how they lead into Becky retaining again and saying she overcame. See this 1 10-second video of Shayna Baszler looking strong. Shayna Baszler can be such a big star, but you need to treat her like she's a legitimate threat and not just, Ronda Rousey's buddy and someone who came up out of nowhere into a random match at WrestleMania.
Here's what's going to happen. It's either going to make Shayna Baszler the next Brock Lesnar of the women's division, or you're going to make her the next Elias. This is what it is. Either she's going to go over and this whole feud is going to have, basically, we're going to see Shayna go over in the lead up and then at the match, which is going to make her look huge in that sense because she's going to be like a Brock Lesnar, like a destroyer, and that Becky never got the best of her at all. Or she's just going to go the path of building someone up, a la Drew McIntyre before, but they corrected that wrong. But we can go with thousands of names like Elias and just a bunch of people who are always pushed and even Lacey Evans, and then just went flat afterwards. That's what I'm worried about. If you're telling us that Becky Lynch is going to go through this whole feud and drop the title to Baszler at Mania without her getting the best of Baszler at all in this whole lead up, I'd be stunned. I expect the expected, what we've seen in the past. History repeats itself, and I just don't see that happening. Her giving up again to Baszler.
But maybe they're also going to, throw in a lot of surprises that they wouldn't have done. Let's kind of be clear. Due to everything that's happened, probably the script that they had for WrestleMania is probably thrown out the window a couple weeks ago, and now they're essentially trying to figure out what to
Well,
do.
they
now.
gave Bobby Lashley a WrestleMania match and Otis too, so I'm pretty sure they're just doing it how they guys go.
Right. So they're trying to figure out as far as one, which wrestlers are going to wrestle, because there have been, rumors of some wrestlers not wanting to wrestle. And then two, what they're going to do to retain us for 2 nights. Not necessarily us, the wrestling fans, but, ESPN has had partnerships with WWE as well as Fox, and they've been showing old WrestleManias and stuff like that. So they're trying to get new fans. Plus they have the WWE network for free for anybody who joins as well. So they're trying to bring in new fans, and they want to kind of have the biggest pop. So the storylines that they might have had like a month ago might be totally different now. So what we think is going to happen might be the total opposite, because they want to kind of throw us all in for a loop.
Okay, I'm curious. Who do you want to win that match, Baszler or Lynch?
I kind of want Baszler to win. Like I'm a fan of Becky, but I kind of want Baszler to win just because I feel like she's paid her due. She can hold it in the ring. She has enough of, she doesn't necessarily have everything as far as mic skills, but she's definitely better than a lot of women on the main roster. So, and I think she has a storyline. She has a built-in storyline. And she can add to that, as far as factions and rosters. And if Ronda ever comes back, there's a whole bunch of options there that I'm feeling like Baszler should take it and ride it out, because we've had Becky for a long time, and I am a fan of Becky, but maybe it's time for Becky and Seth to do a little,
Ronda. Who's Ronda? It's now time for the longest running segment in AfterBuzz TV history. Give it up for TK's Boudoir. There's no drop. There's no drop. Go ahead. Just go.
I was waiting for Jim to dance at least. There you go. I know. There you go. Thank you guys.
So I can't even buy water and toilet paper. I ain't got money for cocoa butter. So go ahead. I'm just saying.
You can't buy water and toilet paper. Use newspaper. That's
Ew!
So
Get a bidet.
Yes.
Get a bidet. You fancy
run out of toilet paper. You can't find a. Use newspaper.
I'm gonna have black print in my black ass. Go ahead, man.
No, you're supposed to rub the. So this is what Trevor Noah said on Daily Show. You're supposed to rub the newspaper together before you wipe your bum, so the print comes off first.
That's fake news. Go ahead.
Just a little tip for my folks.
Next time on the How to Wipe podcast.
Yeah. Presented to you by Cocoa Butter.
TK's bidet.
Presented by the Center.
By Center and Skincare and Candles. Yes, the Center and Skincare and Candles. We definitely are still creating cocoa butter, candles, all that good stuff. Ironically, people are buying more stuff now, so I really appreciate everybody who's been, purchasing. I guess because you're home more, you're buying more stuff. Our sales have actually gone up, so I appreciate that. Because our sales have gone up, that means my AfterBuzz folks, you guys still get an amazing discount. So go to centerincompany.com, put in AfterBuzz TV, and you get an amazing discount. Whatever, Flobo.
What? I'm applauding discounts.
Well, I mean, just because you can't afford toilet paper, I will personally drop off some cocoa butter to you at your door because it's social distancing. So for me,
thank you.
Make sure to wipe that down before you pick it up.
Come and get it in gloves.
So today's boudoir is gonna be Asuka. I'm definitely feeling Asuka for this WrestleMania. I think this is her. She's been in a couple of WrestleManias, but I think this part of her career, I'm believing it. I'm for it. So I'm looking forward to her, and I'm loving the new gimmick. It's not really new, but I'm loving the new version of Asuka. I wasn't really feeling it before, but I'm feeling it now. And then Drew McIntyre, I'm definitely rooting for him. I don't think it's gonna work, but we'll see. And then the Street Profits, they have come a long way, I know as well, and their gear and Bianca Belair adjacent.
What? Okay. All right. Just put everyone in the boudoir. Doesn't even matter how it works.
Unreal.
So people in the boudoir get cocoa butter, or you gotta buy full price.
So many people
outside.
in the
No, you get the cocoa butter for free, Flobito.
I appreciate that. And toilet paper. But across the street, there's a large building getting bigger and better every week. It's now time for King's Court.
That's right. It's building. Yeah. Oh, hail Jim Alexander.
Oh my gosh.
Yes.
Pay attention.
He is the king. That's right. Pay attention to the king of AfterBuzz. Dylan,
this is Lana. Listen to Jim.
Yes.
He's great.
Yes, he's the smartest person. That's right. And Lana is right.
This is Rusev. He's my boy.
Well, he's unemployed right now. My bad, my boy.
Oh, no.
Sounds constipated, Rusev.
Well, King's Court is going cross country, man. We're on the road now. We're traveling in close proximities. Listen, now it's Corona time, so we need to keep everyone into King's Court. We distance together inside, and we're not going outside. So we're distancing with my girl, Mandy Rose, who's not going to be at WrestleMania because she's going to be at the King's Court. Sorry, Mania, Otis, and Fat Guy, and Dolph Ziggler. And then Liv Morgan is here also. She's not going to be making Mania because she's in the King's Court. We have Peyton Royce. Sorry, Sean Spears. You can do your AEW stuff. We are taking Brandy Rhodes. We're taking Mackenzie Mitchell.
Like forcibly? Like you're just like snatching them from people?
They're recruiting him.
Wait, how are you adding Brandy Rose to? She's not even WWE.
Listen, I've seen some AEW lately, and I like what I'm seeing, okay? So we're gathering people. Jessica, AEW Jessica, come on over. We have room in the King's Court. We're quarantining. I have sanitizer. I have everything. I have wet wipes. Everything's good here.
That's a pickup line now? I have sanitizer. Come on over.
Listen.
What?
And I need to, unfortunately, I need to keep out all the girls online who are hitting me up, whose numbers are rising on my likes. But we don't have room right now, so you need to wait afterwards. But I'll be around after this slows down. So King's Court right now filled. And guys, we're not going to manning the door. There's no one coming in or going out, so we're good. We don't need any guys at the door.
Aren't you supposed to only have a certain number of people? Like, isn't it like 2 or 3 people?
Yes, we're distancing together.
Between the boudoir and the King's Court, we'll never win an Emmy. We'll never win an Emmy on the show because these segments are so weird.
And sorry to some of the companies like WWE, you might have to use some of the other hosts for the bump and whatnot because, you know.
All right, moving on. So Aleister Black had a quick match and made quick work of his opponent. He has a match against Bobby Lashley this weekend. But the match that was kind of the signature match was a 6-man tag of the Street Profits and Kevin Owens taking on the team of Angel Garza, Seth Rollins, and Austin Theory from NXT. Andrade was pulled out, whether you believe the reason as discussed on TV or not, but Austin Theory gets the nod. Jack Farmer, I'm starting with you. Because in NXT, we talked about Austin Theory and his upside and how he has all the packages, but he's very, very young. What does it mean for this person to be put in this match and this storyline here?
This is huge. You get a chance to be on Raw this quickly after coming on to NXT, and I think he showed out. I think he looked great. He looked like he belonged with those guys in the ring. He didn't look like some guy that got pulled up really quickly to be on here because he had to be on there. He looked like he fit right in there standing next to Seth Rollins. He looked like he fit right in there next to Angel Garza. I think he's a star. He's going to be great.
Totally.
He's got everything you look for. When I make myself in WWE 2K, it kind of looks like Austin Theory.
It kind of does. Yeah, it's weird.
Really look like.
He gives you 100 stats. He gives you all the stats maxed out, which is unfair. But you look like Austin.
I agree. I agree. He looks like he fit in. He looks like he won't get another match because he almost killed Montez Ford jumping out of the ring and didn't even catch him. So that's a really good move on Austin Theory there. The theory is I don't think we'll see him again after botching such a move. It's his fault. That's a criminal fault for not catching Montez because that was nasty. You saw Zelina's expression too live there. That dude took a bump of a lifetime. And if it's Montez's fault, then you ain't holding the tag team titles for much longer. That kind of botch is not him. That is a criminal move for him, and he will not see the light of day on the main roster. That could really set him backwards big time to the Performance Center, to the workout room, okay, and to get some
to the Raw roster. And if you do it, even if you don't, where does he go? It looks like he's so young. He's getting the rocket strapped to his back. He's getting featured on NXT all the time. You bring him up to Raw where Raw needs mid-carder single talent, or would you try to put? Okay, walk me through this. A couple months ago, people were saying Kevin Owens is like the everyman, the new Austin is going to be the hot face for people to buy the KO merch and be about it. But now he kind of seems like an also ran. His match with Seth Rollins is pretty much going to be a good match on the base things of it all. But what's wrong with the Kevin Owens storyline? And most importantly, where does Seth Rollins go after Kevin Owens?
I mean, we've been talking about Seth Rollins as far as storylines. Like, he's always going to be there. It's almost like Roman Reigns, but not as bad as far as people just can't figure out Roman Reigns. But with Seth Rollins, he's always going to be there. He's going to be kind of sort of the face of the company, so he's not going anywhere. Even though his storylines are like his storylines vary. They go from really hot to like blah, but we'll still watch. With KO, I feel like he strikes gold, but he strikes gold as far as storylines once in a while. So he tries a couple things, 1 or 2 things, and then he kind of figures it out. So this is kind of one of the stretches where I honestly think that he brings the ideas to the writing room.
Okay.
And I think this is something that he's trying, but it's not quite working out. But KO, he's been with the company so long, and we could depend on him in whatever version, whether it's a heel or a face, that we can go from it. I'm not really feeling this particular storyline, but I definitely am looking forward to the match.
But my question stands. After WrestleMania, where would you put Seth Rollins and where would you put Kevin Owens? I mean, they can't fight forever. They're not that kind of...
Yeah, they can't fight forever. I mean, Seth Rollins, you're going to probably create a different storyline, or they might... I think it honestly depends on where we are after WrestleMania and where we are in the world, as far as if we're gonna go back to some type of normalcy where there are gonna be fans back in the arena, where that's not gonna be until the end of April,
right?
Maybe even longer. So I think it really just depends on what happens with the Rona.
Okay. What if you were in charge of storylines and you had Kevin Owens and Rollins and you had the match at WrestleMania and it's over? Where would you put either one of them?
Well, here's the thing. Go ahead,
TK. Ask me the question, Jim.
Oh,
Thank you.
I have an idea for him,
I'm just
but
joking.
go ahead.
I just asked you. Go, Jim. What are you gonna say?
He was trying to bail you out. Okay.
I think Kevin Owens cut an awesome promo tonight. It was one of the better ones with
The
Undertaker in a long time. Here's the thing. I think we're starting to learn, as much as the crowd kind of liked him, this was the chance for Kevin Owens as a face to get over, right? And I think he just missed the mark. I think he is a B+ player in a sense. In a sense that he's an upper mid-carder, but that's about it. I don't think he's main event leading guy. I don't think he's at a Seth level or anything.
Really?
I think they tried it with him. I just don't think
even from back in the day when him and Jericho together, and then even him. But here's the thing:
Jericho's always been a borderline main eventer, and in some points he has been a main eventer. But he was always known as the upper card mid-level guy, the upper mid-level guy, right? Throughout his career, he hasn't had championship runs. I see Kevin Owens in a similar career like that. Some guys just you can't be counted on to carry the company and be the man. I don't see him believing in him as they do in Seth and Roman and some of those guys. I think he's that safe upper mid card level guy. They're trying him now as a face. He's gotten over, but not to the point to be the top of the company. So I think he kind of goes back at this position, and he's not even wrestling for, like they said, he's not even wrestling for a title here. He's just trying to create his own WrestleMania moment. So that tells you something. He hasn't had one technically, if they're calling it out in the storyline. I just think he is a upper mid card guy that can work with a lot of people, but not quite the main event lever they might have envisioned him to be.
From last question before we move on, because we're a little short on time. I just want to say, does Kevin Owens, does he work as a face?
I think he can go either way.
Well, Jack, what do you think?
Yeah, I think he works as a face. I think he's great. I think he's just in a situation where he's been feuding with the same guy for like 8 months. We need to. It seems like he's been feuding, having the same 6-8 tag team matches every single match for the past however long. Like, you can only be the plucky underdog against the same guy doing the same matches for so long before you're not interesting anymore. And I think that's what's happening to him. You can't like keep digging down and be like, I'm going to show the world that you're not so great. It's like, great, you showed us. Like, this was old when Royal Rumble rolled around. It's like, he needs something else. He needs anything else. Even if he was to go down the card a little bit and be like feuding with Andrade again or something, he needs something else, because this has just gotten so incredibly stale for him. I think I'd like that. I'd like to see him feud with Andrade, and I'd like to see him maybe have the U.S. title and run with that for a little bit.
Andrade is never available. How are you going to wrestle a guy that's always on the IR or suspended or whatever?
IR, really, Jim?
Yeah.
Injured reserve?
Injured reserve,
no,
okay.
Right now, it's hard to say, because I think right now a lot of the injuries are actually people who probably are having symptoms of corona, and so it's a little fuzzy on that. But even if it's a short 1 month feud, even if it's a 2-week feud to get the title, I think him with the U.S. title would be a good thing. And I think he could have good feuds with people who are heels to help reestablish himself as that fighting champion, instead of just running into the brick wall that is Seth Rollins over and over and over again. And that's not a shot at Seth Rollins. Seth Rollins is doing good. He's just in a similar spot where he's been feuding with the same guy for so long that it's hard to feel like either of them are going to accomplish anything after this match.
True, I agree. And talking about things that are being accomplished, one of the most talked about matches is happening this weekend is the past eras coming together. Randy Orton, one of the best of all time, coming against a returning Edge at Royal Rumble. The whole world was set on fire. But yeah, it got really, really personal, really, really quick. Couple concertos, Beth Phoenix gets involved. This match here is what most fans seem to be going for. If you look at polls, me, not so much. TK Trinidad, I'm going to ask you this. Randy Orton is usually considered one of the greatest of all time, and Edge's promos were on point.
We don't like that type of stuff. But I'm just saying, it's just like, it's with the advent of social media, you get to see people's lives, and some wrestlers show more of their lives than others. So I like when they bring in their lives and they bring it into the storyline. So I'm feeling this promo. I was feeling the promo. I'm feeling this match, and I'm believing it. And I'm one of those. The sign of a great match is when you want to see what happens in the end versus, oh, well, this is what's going to happen. You're not even going to bother watching. So I'm really excited to see what's going to happen and how it's going to play out.
Fair. Jim Alexander, this match is already printing money, right? You have last Monday Night Raw before WrestleMania. Did you really have to have an extra Edge promo? Could you spend some time to do the other matches you don't care about as much, like Aleister Black or Dolph Ziggler? Do we have to do another Edge promo?
No, this is a main event. Now, especially with the Roman news, this should be a main event on Sunday night. I'm guessing if they're going to do AJ and Undertaker on Saturday. This is the best feud and best work in wrestling, all of wrestling going on since January. I mean, we're talking about it. People always complain, and all the gremlins out there complaining about, oh, why don't we push people? Yeah, why don't we push guys? Why don't you guys get a spotlight match WrestleMania? You see what happens? A guy after 9 years off comes in and steals the show completely because how good he is and polished and how he puts things over. And him and Randy automatically, two arguably besides Undertaker, one full-time guy and one guy that's been out 9 years, are selling the best feud in wrestling. So to talk about, oh, let's promote younger guys. No, because younger guys can't clearly put over a match like these two guys. It's been the most compelling thing in wrestling. You give them 2 minutes and they sell a whole pay-per-view in a sense. Tonight's stuff from Edge was just, again, brilliant stuff. None of these guys have missed a beat at all. Like, there's been no bumps in this road. It's been flawless and A+ kind of built. And we are seeing stellar work from a guy that's been gone for 9 years. That just tells you about the state of wrestling right now and the wrestlers that are supposed to be the future, and what a real guy from the past, or a real star actually, and stars that Randy Orton is a top 5 guy all time. You want to argue that? Look at the results that are printing out there. I mean, I think it's just best thing we're seeing on a road to WrestleMania, and clearly it should be the main event, especially now with the Universal title looking like crap in a sense, that match, not knowing what to do.
Mr. Farmer, I saw you nodding your head in agreement to Jim's words, like gospel preach, brother. Thoughts about this feud and this promo tonight?
Yeah, 100%. You look at how good Edge was, and something that I was thinking as I was watching this as well is, you'll notice after that concerto moment, they don't run into each other. It's not like they keep having them in a bunch of 6-man tag matches and 8-man tag matches and random matches and beat ups backstage and all this other stuff. It's all just words. So when they finally get together in that ring at WrestleMania, it's going to be fireworks, because we don't know what we're going to get because we haven't seen it. We haven't seen it 100 times. And again, as TK alluded to at the beginning, the acting chops of Edge to make this feel serious and to make it feel like a big deal. Orton doing the same thing on other episodes. Edge said something interesting. He said that the last time you cared this much was 9 years ago. And I was thinking, Edge might have a point. I think this is probably the best Orton has been since 9 years ago. And Orton's been good. I like Orton. I agree with Jim. He's definitely up there in that top list. But I agree. I think this is fantastic. I think this is an emotional, believable, real feeling feud that is meant for WrestleMania. And I think most people would agree that this is the feud that I think we want to see end, because it's the biggest feud that we're all looking forward to, and the one we believe in the most.
I guess, but we got to move on because we're short on time.
You're just an Edge hater.
I mean, it's no Bailey.
I am an Edge hater, and I will admit that. What you said, Jack?
It's no Bailey match, but
yeah, it's no Bailey match. She's in the 5-pack challenge.
Yeah, she's so good. One of them dropped out already.
Yeah, shout out to Dana Brooke. Just real quick, Asuka had a match tonight.
76, so don't do that.
Yeah, when she made
for right reasons, obviously.
Yeah, Asuka got a match which made a short work of Kate Carter. We talked about a lot of her at NXT. My thoughts will be on that on Wednesday. But I want to talk real quick about the Rhea Ripley Charlotte Flair thing with a awesomely funny kick out of nowhere. Charlotte Flair is obviously the antagonist, the heel going into this match, but Rhea Ripley seems destined to be the guy, if I can use that gender neutral term in this context, for the women's division. But what if Charlotte did win the NXT title? Will this whole change the dynamic of the 3-brand structure? Jack Farmer, start with you. Who do you have winning on Saturday or Sunday night? And if Charlotte is that person, what happens to that women's title?
I think that this is a really hard one for me to call, actually. And depending on when you ask me, depends on what kind of answer I get. And that's what makes it such a good match, because I think you could see Charlotte winning and going to NXT and helping to bolster that brand more on the Wednesday Night Wars. You could also see Rhea Ripley winning and cementing herself at the top of the women's division all over the world, not just NXT, but everywhere. I want to see Rhea Ripley win, because I already believe that Charlotte Flair is the best female wrestler of all time, and I don't think anything that happens at WrestleMania is going to change that. But I like to see fresh blood. I like to see new people come in, and I want to have a new superpower in the women's division, and I want to see Rhea Ripley show that having her beat Shayna Baszler was more than just a short-term thing, but that she is the new top dog in the women's division. Again, not just in NXT, not just in WWE, but in the entire planet.
Fair enough.
No question.
Jim, before you chime in about this match, Dylan Matthews has this question for you in the chat. He goes, who are your top 5 of all time? Which I thought was a cool question to ask, because I don't know.
Yeah, no question. You got to go in no particular order. I mean, Austin probably number 1 if you want to do that. Cena number 2, Hogan number 3, and then that what gets 4 and 5 is kind of, you can switch. There's a few guys running. I put Orton at 5, and probably at 4 you can go either Flair or, if you want to, a Rock, at 4, Flair or Rock. But I think Orton gets in there over one of those guys. Just his longevity, his title reigns that go overlooked, his quality work he's put over the years, and the guy's just been there through several eras and has been relevant at the top in every one of them. So you can't, and you've seen guys have shorter careers like The Rock, and certainly haven't been for the whole long run. So he's definitely top 5, I think.
Can't argue that, but thoughts about the match?
Do you prioritize, sorry, I want to, if I can jump in here. Jim, do you prioritize overall drawing power as kind of like the main indicator? I think the guys you all said all huge draws.
No question. I mean, you got to look at generations. When you think of 80s, you think Hogan. You think of 90s, Hogan and Austin, and then you think of 2000s, it's Cena, right? These are names before they were Hollywood guys, and Rock can be thrown in there too. These are synonymous to the outside people who don't follow wrestling, right? But if you're throwing in another guy that's been in wrestling, it's Orton. As far as like Ripley and Charlotte, here's what you can do. Charlotte can win the match and just be like, hey, I proved my point. Here's your title. Back to NXT. I don't need this crap. So that's a way of avoiding her going back to NXT and just proving a point. Yeah, I beat Rhea. I don't need her title. Makes her even more of a heel and makes her even more of a badass. And then go over the top, because like we said, establish herself as a major superstar at that point. Like she cements it at that point. She beat Charlotte at WrestleMania. And at that point, I think Rhea Ripley is a made woman in that sense. And you got yourself a star for the future and present.
TK Trinidad, bold prediction I have is that Rhea makes Charlotte tap. Thoughts about the match this weekend? What do you think?
Well, we've been talking about before NXT went on television. It was kind of like the brand where people are still growing. And I think WWE is really trying to make NXT like a legit third brand, where we no longer think of it as like, this is where the newbies go, or this is where you develop talent. Where there's
the match this weekend, Rhea Ripley, Charlotte Flair. Who you got? I'm curious.
The development. There's a storyline here. So what I'm trying to say is that you might have Charlotte beat Rhea Ripley and then she'll go to NXT, not down to NXT. She'll go to NXT. And, she'll help build up that brand so it's a legit third brand. So that's what I'm thinking may happen. I am definitely feeling Rhea Ripley, and we definitely need some new blood. I think Dylan was the one who was saying in the chat, we definitely need some new blood as far as top dogs in the women's division, aside from, the old guard. So I'm definitely I can go either way, but I almost want to see what would happen if Charlotte beats her, and then now she's at NXT and she's, you know, causing havoc in that division. So I have it going for Charlotte, but that's like a 50-50, like a 51-49 type thing.
Okay.
Hey, can we do? We have enough time for quick like react 10-second shockers. 10-second shockers at WrestleMania predictions. Basically,
let's do it.
Okay. My big prediction is Brock Lesnar beats Drew McIntyre and retains.
Yep. I've been saying that for months. I've been saying it since the beginning. Brock flies high.
Oh, the Brock flock. Well, that was my prediction. It was that Rhea makes Charlotte tap, which I think the last time she tapped out was like through a.
That's a
big one.
Yeah. TK, do you have a big bold prediction, a surprise for this weekend?
I think I said it. I think either Charlotte goes down to NXT or Rhea makes Charlotte tap. So I'm kind of on the same lines as you, Flobo.
Well, that's very bold. The obvious choices.
But we're out of time.
Obvious choice, it can go either way.
Michelle turns on Undertaker.
All right.
Wow.
Guys, we're out of time. This is the last Monday Night Raw before WrestleMania, the 2-night event. We'll be back here next week to talk about all the results and have some fun with the after show on both Raw and the WrestleMania after show as well. Before we get out of here, though, here's a chance to tell the world where they can find you online. Jack Farmer, people want to stalk you. Where do they go?
You can find me at jackcfarmer.com as well as at Real Jack Farmer across all social media. You can also check me out on the AEW social media skim every Monday, as well as the AEW Dynamite After Show every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Pacific on AfterBuzz TV. You can also check me out Wrestling with Your Questions with one Flobo. We had a little chat. It was fun. I also chatted with Simon Miller from What Culture. Check it out on AfterBuzz TV. That was a fun chat as well.
Jim Alexander, where can the nerds send your hate mail?
No, well, they can just always check me out at the Jim Alexander on social media. Listen, you might not like me, and it's fine because I feel pretty much the same. But still subscribe to RealTalker.com. Subscribe Real Talker on YouTube and RealTalker.com. That's a place to be.
TK, if your fans are ashy, where do they go?
So you can go to centerincompany.com to get cocoa butter, candles, and we have body wash. I'm really excited. We're adding that to the roster. As well, you can go to tktrinidad.com, check out all the latest stuff. And then also you can check out the Wrestling Skim on Mondays as well, where we do different wrestling news, stuff like that coming up. And check out all my social media at tktrinidad.com for any latest news. And I'm doing news for the news on the coronavirus, etc. So you can check that all out at TK Trinidad.
Doing the news for the news. Of course, my name is Flobo Boyce. You can follow me on Twitter at Flobo Boyce, on Instagram at Flobito. Support me on Patreon, patreon.com/Flobo Boyce, and buy a t-shirt at Flobito.threadless.com. But everything goes through one website, and that's Flobito.com. New content every week. Until next time, buzz you later.
Our founder, Keven Undergaro, and me, Maria Menounos, would like to thank you for tuning in to AfterBuzz TV. Remember, we're not just the first, we're the biggest in the world, and we're the only destination for all your favorite TV shows. Whatever you crave, we've got it. So go to AfterBuzzTV.com and check out our lineup. Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.